warm welcome to SMJ Varta. I'm Dhwani, your host through this episode. Women have made remarkable contributions to science and their impact continues to grow, especially in India. Today, as we commemorate International Women's Day, we take this special occasion to discuss the role of women in science. Joining us in the studio, we have Professor Shashi Singh and Dr. Surbhi Sonam, the two women scientists of DYPIU. So, hi ma'am, thank you so much for joining us. So, my first question is, how did you reach this point in your career? Because I've seen you work so hard and you still manage to conduct labs and especially your research. So how do you manage everything and how do you reach this point after all the hardships you might have faced?
So the first thing is your interest. I was interested and I pursued my interest and nothing deterred me from it. And once you are in science, you get a little result. It prompts more questions to you and you continue to be in that field then. And that's what kept me going. Whether I got positive results, if it is negative, work a little more, try to see what's happening, analyze it, and then it's Yahoo all the time.
What about you, ma'am?
Well, for me, I think it was more of great support from my parents, friends, and definitely some teachers who motivated me to stay in science to large extent, I would say. I would have pivoted into a very different direction if that wouldn't have happened. And yes, some great opportunities that I got at the right time, probably. And now I hope we are ensuring that you get such opportunities as well.
It's very inspiring, ma'am. So, speaking from this perspective, what were the challenges you both faced?
Challenges as women?
Yes.
I don't think we had any challenges. Anything, whatever was a challenge equally to both men and women. But we had to definitely stand up and grab that opportunity, which by chance somehow I got the chance and I pursued it also. So that's what.
Yeah, well, in my case, I think by my generation, things were slightly more convenient for women already. And thankfully, in my family also, both all of us siblings were considered equal. So all kind of opportunities that were given to my brother, I got it as a girl child as well. At the same time, when let's say my sister decided to choose something which was not associated to science, she was encouraged as well. So it really did not matter to any of us what we were choosing. At the same time, when we moved out of our houses also, our alcove in some sense, I don't think I have seen much bias in my life in terms of being a female. Maybe I'm lucky, or maybe it's a privilege that I have had, but personally I have not seen as much bias, at least from being in terms of being a female in the field of science. Thankfully, I have had a great life.
Play to win or don't play at all. So my next question is, how did you stay focused to your goal? Because people do get distracted a lot, and this happens with me too. When it comes to lab or when it comes to lab journal submissions, I get distracted. I start scrolling reels or watch YouTube. How did you stay focused?
We didn't have those kind of distractions, very frankly. And obviously, first thing was interest. Second thing, our career depended on what is the outcome. So we were all into trying to improve it. Obviously, career also comes into, once you are in, as a scientist, you need to have publications, you need to have outputs. You had yearly submissions and other things. So we had to stay focused to get whatever. It's not just one submission for us. That submission has a lot of things in it which we have to work out. I think interest was the most important thing. I was interested in continuing my journey. In fact, I used to have 2-3 projects running in my lab and so that if this, for some reason it's not working, the other one will pick up pace and I'll have something to show. That was the thing. Another thing was we do have some kind of distraction sometimes, but then the call of your work would always call you back, and we were back. Anyway, you also make it a point to submit in time, in
Yeah.
spite of those distractions. We probably would have, but we work on it, and you'll have to.
Yeah, well, for me, I would say I'm fairly young as a scientist, so I would not have the same stories to tell as she would have. But for me, I think things are slightly easier personally because I'm also surrounded by great scientists. Hence, it gives me some amount of focus by looking at them and learning from them directly. Like I'm always amazed how she handles her work and at the same time her life. It's impressive. Before this, the people that I've worked with, again, they were all great achievers in their own fields, and thankfully, in each of their lives also, I saw that they were managing it fairly easily to see what they were doing and whatever they were managing to do in the field of science, and at the same time their families also. So personally, I would say that yes, it becomes easier if you look around yourself. Then learning from your surroundings always keeps you focused to see to ensure that you stay on your track and not get off road. I think ours was the last generation who has seen a world without mobile phones, and thankfully we were trained to be less distracted. But unfortunately, now we are into the rut of mobile phones and this social media, as you gave examples of. But then there is still a little bit of that person left, which I have to recall to eventually get back on track. Yes, but then of course, looking at these people helps. Always try that.
Difficult
Well-
being a role model. Don't put so much of pressure on me to.
Not on you alone. There are many people around you. Don't worry.
Okay.
Well, you both do inspire me a lot. So I sometimes think if Surbi ma'am and Shashi ma'am can do it, then why can't I?
I had the same kind of spirit, but I had too many people to compete with also when we were as a scientist. So that's why I said career. Career was important, and we worked for it. You're surrounded by almost 50, 60 scientists who are working the same way. No point, no chance of getting distracted or anything.
Speaking about work, when it comes to a woman's perspective, it's always shown that a woman should handle her house chores as well as the work she's doing. So how did you both do it? Like घर का भी संभालना है और लैब में मुझे मेरे experiments भी सारे करने हैं. So that kind of support or that kind of determination, please explain more on that, because nowadays I can see from my generation, people can only focus on one work. Like अगर मैं लैब में कुछ कर रही हूँ तो मैं बस लैब में कर रही हूँ, मैं ना ही कुछ देखूंगी, मुझे कुछ याद नहीं रहेगा कि मेरे घर पे क्या क्या चल रहा है, वो तब जाके देख लेंगे. But you both were doing everything simultaneously, and a lot of women scientists like Marie Curie, she might have done everything simultaneously. So how do you manage that work-life balance?
Sorry, I'll again come back to interest.
Okay.
Because of interest, I'm here, and I know that is my responsibility. In our time specifically, we had to carry out that role. And Marie Curie also did all the cooking, washing, everything, and then she used to come to lab and work. I think we did the same thing. To some households have help, like when we had children, I had help who would come and look after my children, and but then I had to get back home in time. Those things, keeping those things somehow managed. And luckily my husband had a transferable job, so many a times he would be away, so it was easier for me to, with the children, to manage and do everything. It wasn't a very big problem. I had household help. Husband was on and off away, and then obviously work is work. Work should never suffer.
Well, I think the only option is you finish in time. So you finish whatever, be it the household work or be it the lab work. You finish it in time, and then you should be fine. But I would bring you back to what you were saying earlier, that if you are doing one work, I mean, people your generation, if they are doing one work, they are entirely focused on that. That's a good thing. You should take it as a good thing that that yeah.
On and off, it would happen with us also. Once I, in fact, forgot to pick up my daughter from school. I
Oh.
realized an hour late, and then by the time the school called up, and it does happen off.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes it would happen, but then it's part and parcel of it.
Yeah, and then these fast consumer services are meant for people like us who forget things, so it's fine. It's a good thing. No? So I mean, I would say that would be a kind of a distraction if you are not focused when you are in the lab, let's say doing a work and not thinking about anything else. So it's a good thing if you are focused in whatever you're doing at that moment. Of course, not looking at reels.
Be a focus.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, अभी things काफी serious हो गई है. Just to take a chill pill, I wanted to ask that science is supposed to be serious. Like this conversation is kind of supposed to be serious. But I refuse to believe that scientists don't have fun. And what's the funniest thing that has happened to your lab?
I'm really thinking what should be that funny that everybody can laugh over it.
It's okay,
But
according
we
to you.
Just, I mean, we would also have these celebrations and something, and generally in front of the bosses, normally everybody would keep away. And the moment boss rushes out, everybody will say charge, and then those are some of those funniest things.
I have been one of those people.
The moment the boss leaves the lab, and then we all jump up, and just imagine the boss comes back.
yes, the PI is on leave for 2 days. The entire lab is in a mess
Yeah.
because everybody is
Wow.
playing around, playing music all the time. Not that it was not allowed or people would feel bad about it. It's just that people would behave more disciplined when the PI is around.
Though-
As soon as the
and-
PI is out,
Yeah, another thing for us was that we were not allowed any eatables in the labs.
Yeah.
And then you bring everything and you create a mess was little. Those are some
Funny. Okay.
funny things which we used to do.
I can tell you my experience. So last year I was working on a project related to microfluidics, and I accidentally dropped one of those thermometers, and it fell and broke, and all the mercury was spread. And I just thought, like, obviously all the TAs were coming and kind of not yelling at me, but saying that, oh, you should be more careful, but in a very concerned / angry manner. So it made me cry, and I cried in the lab. Okay, man, what if Shashi ma'am now says that, okay, now you can't continue this lab experiment because you keep breaking stuff. And after that, nothing much happened. They just noted down my name and things were sorted. And then ma'am then asked me that, oh, I heard you were crying inside my lab. And I was like, yeah, I was crying. But I obviously I did not reply with anything. But looking back, now I feel like, oh, this was such a silly thing to cry about. Okay, things break, not intentionally though.
Things break, okay, but mercury falling, you have to be careful.
slightly dangerous.
Yeah.
Not very easy to clean it.
Yeah, see, so now we are all laughing, and I'm glad that I am getting to experience all these things. So if someday, if I get to record a podcast, I have good points. Never mind.
We would be happy to see you that day.
Yeah, thank you. So, how do you feel knowing that science is a male-dominated field? Do you feel angry sometimes? Okay, man, even us women would have or should have good opportunities, but only males do it all the time.
Males have been doing everywhere all the time. All right, so you have to make a mark. You have to find ways and get into that world. And I don't think any field is different from what we face. Science, women have been a little maybe latecomers, we can say, but of course they got a chance as early 1920s or so, and people have been in labs. They faced sordid stories and they made way for us to get into. And definitely things have been a little slow in accepting women in leadership positions. You have very late entry as a director of any national lab as a female only after 2010 or something, and director general, that was only in 2022. So you can imagine, when we start our graduate programs, we are almost more females and very few males. It may be to the tune of about 20 to 5. That is the ratio. Even in my MSc, in the class of 25, we had only one male person. Okay. PhD also, it was a similar situation. We had almost 50-50 males and females. But once you get into the job market, it was more males. All right. The teachers, the women mostly would get either teaching jobs somewhere in some of the local colleges. Go to a scientific lab, it was more males compared to females. So to make this position that today you have a women director general of a CSIR institution which has 40 labs is something, obviously it has taken time, but ultimately it happened. We have to make our way, simple.
Yes.
And we should not play the victim card in that.
Yeah.
It works out better if we work for it.
Yes.
Why do you think this happens?
It was a
makes
male.
me angry sometimes.
Multiple reasons actually. It's not just. I mean, you cannot blame one group for it, unfortunately, or rather, fortunately, you cannot blame one group. It's multiple reasons behind it. In certain cases, it's economics. That let's say a particular female would get married to a different family, and hence you would not want to spend on this this female child. You may not want this female child to go to a different family and take all that money that you have spent on this person. So that is part of that story. Yeah, the education gets affected in that process. I know several of my classmates, they did a better degree in the sense BTech, purely because they had to get married earlier, and get married earlier with a better prospective spouse. So in that case, again, the expenditure is made on this person only because you would want to ensure that they get married to a particular kind of a profile, right? So again, that comes from the family's point of view. Now after that, a lot of females drop out of this pipeline because they are unable to keep up with the pressure of handling a child or handling a family, and at the same time handling their job pressure, because scientific community in general is a very demanding area. Like whatever you are working with, no matter what it is, every area of science would require you to put in extra hours. More importantly, I've seen, Sunday or Monday, it doesn't matter, right? You cannot imagine Monday blues, there are Sunday blues also. So yes, in that process, since you are not able to keep up with all of that pressure, you get out of it. And then some people are unable to find proper options or good options after they have taken a break because of let's say a child, or let's say other responsibilities in their family. So they are unable to find proper breaks, because breaks are never considered good for a career. No matter what you may say, what you may think, some are able to manage it, some are not. Most are not able to manage it. So that's a general problem that you would see, why all of the fields, not just science, all of the fields have become male dominated. But the only problem is that the only people who are able to survive through all of it is people who continue to fight, however they are fighting. It doesn't matter.
So if
And
you
organizations then prefer to go in for males who would probably not budge that easily. When women drop out so frequently, probably have to move to another city sometimes.
countries now,
So many times.
Yeah.
So all those have contributed to those things. Things have changed now. Now you have a lot of women.
yes,
I would say I'm privileged now. Now things are not as bad as
In 40 years of my career, when I joined my institution, there was only one group leader. When I left, we had at least 3-4. That makes a difference.
Yeah, look at DYPIU. Most of the directors are females.
Yeah.
So things are changing. Good for you.
Glad we are getting the I feel privileged that I am not experiencing this kind of domination from males, but I'm just privileged, just like you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what's your dumbest mistake? Like, I accidentally set my lab coat on fire.
I accidentally dropped a protein which I isolated from almost quite a large number of animals, and it fell down from my hand.
And what happened after that?
I couldn't do anything. Can't collect it from the floor.
Yeah.
I published my paper, but without that piece, because I wouldn't get animals again.
Ha.
That's
How
my
many
problem.
animals?
You want me to number? There were about 100 animals, but it was almost 15 days of work. You isolated the protein and purified it. It was pure. And the final thing I was doing before giving it for sequencing, and it fell.
Were you the only person working on that experiment, or
Yeah,
did
it
you
was
have
my group's experiment, and I was doing the final part.
Oh,
So
okay.
nobody to blame except,
It's fine. Mistakes happen.
yeah, the dumbest in the sense that I don't know what I could have done. I can't think of, but it still haunts me. It's okay.
I can imagine. Yes.
How many years we are past that? 30, 40?
Exactly, it's 25, 26 years. 1999 it was.
Damn.
Wow. That's long. Okay. Well,
I can't think of dumbest, but I can think of expensive mistake that I have done. This was my first time handling a microscope. It was an upright microscope. I hope you understand. There's a objective on top, and I was looking at a chip that we had just received, and I was just trying to make sure that all the designs made on that chip were the exact designs that we wanted to have. So I was trying to focus, and in that process, my objective collided with the chip. Her expression has told everything. And to add to that, the microscope was only 1 month old. so, so the objective was no more, the chip was no more. And yes, that's why it was an expensive mistake, yes. But thankfully, my supervisor was very, very nice, just like hopefully your director here. Yes.
I was taught by a microscopy who would say, if anything happens to my objective, I'll chew you up. So that is why my reaction was that.
And then yes, of course, I couldn't do anything. But thankfully, my lab manager, my supervisor didn't even ask me anything. The lab manager said it happens every day. It's okay. I think my supervisor is a rich fellow.
Experiment.
Yes, I moved to another microscope. I mean, I lost the chip, so I had to make another one, and I had to make another. And sorry, this chip is a
Silicon.
silicon chip. Yes, so that
I
was also
understood that.
expensive. Yeah, that
I
was also
understood.
expensive.
If it was microfluidic, I wouldn't have made
Yes,
it.
no,
Because
but
knowing
I wouldn't have cared. So,
Been
but yes, it was a silicon chip with some nano features on top of it. So it was expensive chip, and the objective, of course, was expensive. Yes, but then yes, what's done is done. Can't do anything about it.
Does that haunt you? If you had one stick.
Yes, so now I'm very careful when I'm using upright microscope. Yes, that for sure. Yes, or any actually. Yes, that's why for any training I disengage the objective first. That's my first memory.
yes, first step.
After my thermometer accident happened, I made sure to never handle anything carelessly, even if
I
now.
can't say I have never been careless after that.
Yes.
But
Anything I wouldn't say, but microscope, yes, I'm slightly more careful. Yes.
dropping things I'm still good at. I'm unfortunate. So
Okay. One fun question, and hopefully the audience will enjoy this. If Marie Curie was on Instagram, what kind of reels would she make?
she wouldn't share anything. She was so much into her household and her research. She couldn't think anything beyond her radium.
Oh,
Well, I would say if she managed to get into this current generation's mindset, then she would be talking about how to get to Nobel Prize and making sure how your husband gets a Nobel Prize, making sure how your child gets a Nobel Prize, 5 Nobel Prizes in the family.
wow. Or any other female
Yes.
scientist.
We want to talk about it.
I'm assuming she is old now, maybe taking a break from radium and then talking about how to get 5 Nobel Prizes in the family with little
secrets.
resources, with very little resources.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So then no proper lab. You have, I mean, she had lab in her own garage. Of course, great support from the husband, I'm hoping, because they were working together. But then yes, otherwise from the scientific community, she had very less support. And then making sure that your family gets so many Nobel Prizes, great achievement, of course. I'm sure this is something that she should talk about.
If she wouldn't have been, I would have requested her to talk about it.
Coming on that, what's that one question would you ask any female scientist? Any, be it personal, be it professional, any one thing, like, or even talking about experience.
Tough.
A female scientist?
Yes.
Would you like to describe that female scientist?
Any female
Anybody? You would have a range of female scientists. If somebody is hugely successful, I would definitely ask her, how did she manage to get there? That was your first question to us who have not achieved anything. But I think that will be the question then. How did you manage to be there where you are?
Yeah, for me, I would have tried to understand from her how is she balancing. Same, you have asked this question already, and I, as a female, I find it difficult to ensure that I give enough focus to each part of my life, and that I'm sure I would not have asked only as a female. I would have asked as any human being to any other human being how you are managing this. How are you managing all the different aspects of your life being a scientist? Because I don't think the world is difficult for a scientist as a female only, but I think it is difficult for males also. Of course, females have their own problems to handle, but any scientist I would meet, I would ask them the same thing, because all the scientists I've met who have great passion, they always have a part of their life which they have to still manage somehow, and then I would like to know from them how they are managing this.
When a child graduates their 10th grade, high school, and then they are given tracks, science, arts, and commerce. Students who choose arts and commerce are often labeled as lazy or a person who doesn't want to work.
I don't think now
And
Now it would change.
It has changed.
I've seen a lot these kind of situations in my junior college.
They are making more money than scientists.
So,
Facts. Rather than people who chose science, because people who choose science are labeled as, oh, you are a smarty, you know a lot of things, and they often tie up with a lot of expectations like parents or relatives or neighbors. And we often see that the field science has only 2 career opportunities, that is being a doctor or being an engineer. So you both are from a different field, like obviously engineering too, but it's a multidisciplinary field. So what do you want to say to students who just finished, or people who are appearing for boards right now?
things have changed now. During our times, there were only 2 fields which existed. One was engineering and other was doctor. Okay, when I remember in my school had up to 8th class, and after that I was supposed to change my class. My teacher called me in when I just entered 8th, and she says, "What do you want to become?" I blurted out doctor. She says, and there was another school in the neighborhood from where most of the people from here would go to the next school. She said, in that school, I said, even I'm confused where I should go. She said, go to another locality and there is a school. You go there and do your sciences there. So that's how I got into that. And then when I was in that school only, I came to know one scientist had visited us from NPL. She was a female scientist. We had our annual day program. And then I realized that there is another opportunity. It's not only engineering and doctor. You have something called scientist, and our biology teacher used to call us scientists. You're already a scientist. For whatever little experiments we used to do, and that's how it sort of got into me that probably will get into science and become a scientist. But this was way back in 70s, right? We had this, that only two streams are there, engineering and science, rest everybody is something. But things have changed over time. I have seen economics taking such a big load of people, commerce taking up such a big load of students, and they are all doing well. They are in fact doing much better.
Law now.
Law also,
Yes.
Of course. Law was always there in a different way. And I remember when my daughter graduated, in fact, when she did her 10th, she insisted, I'll take science, but I want economics with it. And we supported her. So that she says, I will have an option where I want to go. And she took economics at that time. Those things are available and people do make a choice. It's nothing like that. Now you have more divergent fields and one should always look for better things. You have marketing, you have economics, you have law, you have arts. We have in university all these courses and people do very well in all that. So
I would say there is no exclusivity in terms of education. So even though our education system so far has been designed to make people choose between, let's say, arts, science, commerce, whatever. Thankfully now NAP is trying to get rid of it. Let's hope that in some years we will have a slightly better organization in terms of that. But then in terms of, I'm sure you would have realized that by now that you are not studying only biology, you are not studying only engineering. There are multiple things that you are studying at the same time. So education or whatever you are learning, at least in the current era, cannot be in silo. So if somebody is trying to figure out at this age what they are interested in doing, there could be an area which is leading their interest, like something like, let's say, biology or something like science could be leading their interest. However, that would still require them to learn everything around it. You cannot give away with something and then work only on something. We have said that commerce is making more money, but at the same time, every human being needs to understand commerce, right? So otherwise, how will you ensure that you have enough money for your survival? So again, you may not be learning that as formal education, but for sure you'll have to take that up as on the side to understand at least how the world dynamic works. So I would say keep up your interest in whatever you're doing for sure, but at the same time be aware of everything else. Otherwise it's tough to survive.
I actually find it interesting that you can do PhD in literature and other. I'm talking computer science, of course.
Yes.
In other subjects like history and other things. And it makes me wonder because you really need to be intelligent to bring out something out of which is available to us and get it published and present it as something novel. It must be really lot of brain work involved in that. Science is simpler. You design an experiment, get something and you know where you are. But just imagine things which we have been reading and now you try to analyze, you really need gray matter for that. It's not nobody's...
finding something new which has been done so many times.
Which has been there for a long time. You probably would be looking at one of our students who wants to work on psychology of the female characters of Shakespeare. Just imagine.
Wow.
And Shakespeare has been read by so many people for so many years.
So many years. So, I mean, without intellect and brain, you'll not be able to do that. So, science is much simple.
What kind of experiments did you both have back then?
Oh my God.
In class 11, 12th?
I had from 8th class.
Yes.
We 8th class, we had flowers and other things we had to dissect out, and we had that magnet experiment with iron filings.
Yes.
You had to draw the magnetic line on Earth
Yes.
from North Pole to South Pole.
I remember the experiments from chemistry lab, the smell of H2S. to get the color of say, copper sulfate and identifying metals.
One of those
So, yes.
memories, I still
Those were
remember
fun
that
experiments because you could see the colors changing. They
Yeah.
were fascinating. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't remember any experiments from my biology lab.
And we reach the end of this podcast. Thank you so much, Shashi ma'am and Survi ma'am, for gracing us with your presence. And I feel like this conversation should have kept going, but we are short of time. But we enjoyed it a lot, and I hope our audience enjoyed it a lot. We unraveled some mysteries, not mysteries, but your own experience, your own thinking, and I hope this conversation sparks that level of curiosity to us students and for the future generations to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And on the occasion of Women's Day, it was my pleasure to have you both on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.